Welcome to another NFL Super Bowl 60 preview edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Ian Cameron, and yes, we have had a slew of these shows already recorded throughout the course of the week with various guests. Multiple current and former football players have been on. But now we're going to get our good friend Rob Vino's take on Super Bowl 60, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots. Rob, I will just be just put up the graphic here first of all, remind everybody. 4.5-point favorites, Seattle, 45.5 the total in this game. It's pretty much stayed pretty consistent over the course of the last couple of weeks. So my positions on the game, I'll basically mention, if you've watched the previous editions of the show, you know this already, but, I bet Seattle money line. I took them minus 220, when that price opened right after the conference championship games. And this is one of those rare instances, Rob. I'd much rather just take Seattle on the money line than lay the 4.5. I have enough respect for New England's defense and Mike Vrabel and his coaching staff to not necessarily assume they're just going to get run out here in Santa Clara. I think they have established that. But at the end of the day, I look at the top to bottom roster of Seattle, and I just think better than New England. More weapons on offense, more game breakers, in various positions, especially at receiver. I look at the defense, and yes, New England's defense with a healthy Milton Williams and Christian Gonzalez, we've seen it in the playoffs. They've been really good. They have not allowed a 40-yard rusher or a running back to hit 40 yards rushing against them in a game. They've been great against the run. They've certainly been feasting and forcing on turnovers throughout the playoffs. But Seattle's defense, I think, will play pretty well here. And not to mention, look, the Rams' offense is just that good when you've got Stafford and obviously Sean McVay as an offensive-minded head coach. I think that you can excuse some of Seattle's defensive struggles against the Rams and chalk it up to just, hey, that's a hell of an offensive team, that you're playing. So I think Seattle will have a little bit better defensive game here in this one, and I think they will find a way to get the job done. And the reason I like the money line, Rob, rather than minus 4.5 is because we have seen the underdog in recent Super Bowls, ATS, get the money, and be able to cover numbers and keep games close. So I'm on the Seattle money line. We love our overs, and I like that the total's dropping. It's getting me more interested maybe in an over. I wasn't crazy about it initially when this was 46.5 at the open, but it's starting to drop. People see that these defenses probably could play well here, but weather's going to be immaculate once again for a football game here on Sunday night. No issues whatsoever. So I'm kind of debating, do I go just wait it out, get an over at the lowest number I get, or do I look live? Thinking that, as we do see sometimes in the Super Bowl, and it could even be more the case with two defensive-minded head coaches, Rob, that maybe it is conservative and a little cautious off the hop, and maybe then we jump in live when things start to open up, and it goes hand in hand with the fact that, and I know I've mentioned it already, I like the second half to be higher scoring, than the first half. It's a prop that I usually gravitate to when it comes to the Super Bowl. As far as props, I'll just name the main ones that I'm already bet and I really like, the main ones that I like the most. I'm on Kenneth Walker over 19.5 receiving yards. That one makes sense to me. I think the pass rush will be a bit of an issue for Darnold, and we've seen the pressure that New England's put. We know they've been great against the run. A big part of this is they haven't given up 40 yards rushing to any running back they've faced in the playoffs so far. We already saw against the Rams, Sam Darnold more than willing to use Kenneth Walker as a pass catcher out of the backfield, calm down that pass rush. And I think you're going to see that even more so here against this New England front, which has been totally transformed, I think, with Milton Williams' return. I mean, he has been that important to that group, and we've seen them play so well in the playoffs since he's been back. So the Walker prop over receiving yards, which I much prefer to rushing yards because, like I said, I think it'll be difficult for Seattle to run in between the tackles. You could flip that around to New England's running backs too, which won't find it easy sledding against Seattle's defense, which was, I think, an NFL best for the entirety of the season, 3.8 yards per carry allowed per rush this season. So, yeah, I like Kenneth Walker over receiving yards. I like both tight ends. These two teams have had issues defending the tight end position. We know Parkinson got to 62 receiving yards against Seattle. So whether it's Hunter Henry, who had a quiet game against Denver, but weather and wind probably played into that a little bit, and just, the lack of downfield attack, especially once the weather got real bad in Denver. I think this is a game Hunter Henry becomes more of a factor, more of a target for Drake May, especially with Seattle's issues. So receptions, receiving yards for Hunter Henry, I'm interested. Conversely, A.J. Barner for Seattle, considering the issues that New England's had at times defending the tight end position. So those are definitely a couple of props there I was interested in. And last ones that I really like the most. I have a bunch of other props, but I'm just trying to stick to the ones that I really like the most here in this outset just to begin this show. I'm going to take a shot, Rob, with both of these quarterbacks over passing yards because the numbers are low enough with both of them. I think Drake May, I was able to get 212.5, and with Sam Darnold, I was able to get 225.5. And I know it was 86 yards passing. Trust me, I know that that's all he had against Denver. But again, the weather was awful in that game once we got to the second half. And I think Matthew Stafford kind of showed you, if there's one little element that Seattle you can do damage, it's through the air and against that secondary. Now, can Drake May do it at the level Matthew Stafford did? I'm not sure, but we're not asking Drake May, Rob, to get 370 passing yards like Matt Stafford did. That number is 213.5, and it's fair to assume this New England team is trailing in the fourth quarter. And if that's the case, he's going to have to throw that football even more to try to bring his team back from behind. So I like the idea of taking a shot with Drake May over 213.5 passing yards, and I like Darnold over 225.5 passing yards as well. I don't think it's going to be easy for either team to run the football with what we've seen. It's been very difficult for anybody against opponents of Seahawks and the Patriots in these playoffs to run against them. This could be a game where May and Darnold are just going to have to put the ball in the air more as a result. So to ask Darnold to get over 225.5 yards is not asking a lot. He obviously is coming off the best game I've ever seen him play in the NFL against the Rams. So I'm taking low numbers. We're not asking for 300-yard passing games here. Reasonably low numbers for both quarterbacks to go over their passing yards prop. So those are the main bets for me. Rob, how do you see Super Bowl 60, Seattle, New England?
Yeah, it's interesting, Ian. This is the first time that I'll have talked about the game with anybody, wager talk or outside, but it won't be the last because there's about a half a dozen to 8 shows over the next 3 days that I'll be just regurgitating what I'm going to tell you now. So I bet it immediately when the NFC Championship game ended. You just sit there and you wait for them to put a number up. Wait. Number came up Seattle 3.5. I wasn't anticipating it to be that low. I immediately bet it. I'm glad I did because 20 minutes later it was 4.5. The early action right away shoot up to 3.5s to 4s, and we kind of sat at 4.5 for 2 full weeks now, just about. We'll see where it goes on game day. Obviously, New England is a public team, so I think that public money probably offsets whatever early sharp money has been bet on Seattle, which apparently there's been some, not enough to make a huge line movement beyond the 4.5. But I see it kind of the way you just laid out there. I'm just not as afraid to lay the 4.5. I do that pretty confidently here. I just don't know. To me, there's not a pathway for New England offensively to get the job done here. And I think you laid it out perfectly because it's my sentiments exactly. I remember coming on with you a couple of weeks ago before the Seattle LA Rams game, NFC Championship, and talking about the over. And you had said to me, Rob, I've done 4 shows with other guys. You're the only guy that's come in here liking the over. And it was only for a specific reason, Ian. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. You know that styles make matchups. And I think simplistically, I just thought Matt Stafford, just like Josh Allen, is going to get his. I don't care who you are defensively. It doesn't matter. Simply because he is who he is and simply because he has Puka Nacua, he has Devontae Adams, and they have Sean McVay calling plays. The only comparable person in that group of what I just laid out is Josh McDaniels. Good caller of plays. Drake May in no way, shape, or form has played anywhere near what Matthew Stafford is. Stephon Diggs is supposed to be the number 1 on this team. If you and I were drafting players and you had first pick, Nacua or Diggs, you're not taking Diggs in any way, shape, or form, so on and so forth. So to me, what the Rams do to Seattle is unique. New England won't be able to do the same thing. We've had 3 tries here, been proven wrong a couple of times, but New England's come out against the Chargers, 0 offense, 0 offensive line, 0 running game, 0 anything. Houston Texans without Nico Collins at wide receiver, 0 passing game, no threat to run the ball. Quarterback who's giving it to you every chance he gets scared or every time he gets scared. And then the Broncos, who play with a backup quarterback, actually do get 7. Coach passes up on 3, blow a few opportunities, and then a blizzard comes. So we'll take a half of football. In that one half, Drake May thoroughly unimpressive against the Denver defense. And I know, and rightfully so, when we last talked, you had concerns about the Denver defense, rightfully so, but he couldn't exploit it. They were doing nothing. I don't know how many first downs they had in the first half up until the point where Jarrett Stidham decided, I don't know, we're playing playground keep away. I don't know what he was doing there, but that caused that game to change a little bit. And of course, the snow came. So New England's offense to me, totally unimpressive. Here's the only thing I can see for them is if they get some huge pass interference calls, which is always a possibility. If in fact they get set up by Seattle turnovers that put them in great field position, because I don't think New England can drive the length of the field against Seattle. And where that's concerned, Seattle has a great punting game. When I flip it over a little bit, I'll just run through the same. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a doubter in what New England's done, but I just don't see any offense that they've faced so far that has tested them. Like they've just been personnel-wise better because of the inabilities of the opposing offenses, right down to Denver, who actually again lost. Oh goodness, 2 weeks out of sight, out of mind. But they were short receivers. Let me just say that really quick. Denver was short receivers.
Franklin was the one that was out.
Yeah, Franklin, yeah. And then Pat Bryant got hurt in the first quarter, even though he played, got hurt again. And again, the second half was taken away by a blizzard, and we've already gone through Chargers, no passing game, nobody that can separate Texans. So I just don't know how good this defense is. What I see out of Clint Kubiak is no fear of being open with the game plan, right? I mean, there were a couple of times, especially at the end of the game, where they could have been conservative, forced the Rams to use timeouts.
No, Darnold to Rashid Shaheed. We believe in Sam Darnold. It's time to take the handcuffs off. You're good enough to not just be a game manager, but to make plays, chuck that ball deep, and lead this offense confidently. And that first drive, Rob, gosh, was that critical to get that big play to Shaheed and set them off and running offensively against the Rams.
And then at the end to call the pass play to Cooper Kupp, which some dispute whether he got the first down or not, but you didn't have to. If you didn't trust your QB, you run it, right? So I think they're in good shape here. I think they'll score enough. The Nick Emmanwori injury today, or in practice, somewhat concerning. Now, to the best of what I've been able to find out from, you might say some people in the know, is that unless it's broken, which I don't think it is, there's going to be a pregame injection and he'll play through whatever it is for 3.5 hours. But Emmanwori is a big deal. That defense, to me, Drake May has not been protected well whatsoever by that offensive line. Will Campbell's name has come up more than once. And the Seattle front is dangerous. Wasn't dangerous against Stafford.
Emmanwori with a quote 1 hour ago, Rob. I'm just seeing this now. I'm good.
I'm good. Okay.
We're going to trust him.
Yeah, I trust him too. And he's like a heat-seeking missile around the defensive backfield for this team. So again, if we just go to trench play, Ian, I favor Seattle on both ends. I think the fact that they got their offensive line back intact now for 3 weeks or 3 games is a good sign. Darnold wasn't really pressured by the Rams, who have a great pass rush. It was interesting to see how much time he had to throw the football. I like Seattle in short terms. They played on this field before. Obviously, San Francisco's a division mate. You play here. I don't know what that's worth. It's just something you throw into your handicap to sound smart, I guess. But it certainly could be a little bit. And again, Drake May, Ian, when we talked last time, I thought, he's going on the road this time with this team when they went to Denver. And would he have a deer in the headlights type look? I didn't see Drake May look totally confident in that Denver game. You know what I mean? He looked like a first-timer and could look like a first-timer here again. I know
the plays he made running with his legs were bigger than any play he made throwing the football.
Yeah. No doubt about it. And so for me, in short, it's Seattle minus the points. I wouldn't let it get too far out of hand. Crazy things happen in Super Bowls, but I think they're 7 points better for sure. Total, I have not made up my mind on. A couple of props I'll just run by you here. that I thought were worthy of a shot. One I cashed on last game, and I'll just repeat the process, is Rashid Shaheed receiving yards. It only takes one with him, right? You
And
just
it's all
talked
it
about
took was one against the Rams.
That's
1 for
all.
51. Yeah.
It's 21 and a half here.
Yeah.
I also took, for wide receivers, I took Cooper Kupp over 2.5 receptions. It seems like the more important these games are getting for Seattle, the more they're going to Cooper Kupp, a guy that, I don't know, you probably witnessed the same thing. You're wondering all season long, oh, yeah, they have Cooper Kupp on their team. He never catches the ball. But now, when it counts, he's catching the ball. So I like those two. There's a couple of defensive props, Eamon Worry being one of them, over 6.5 tackles and assists. He just seems to be in on every play. I'm narrowing down a specific couple for the New England side because, as you mentioned, I think Seattle's going to own time of possession and total plays here, which makes the other side have to make more tackles, have more assists. So I'm looking New England's way there. There's a couple oddball ones that I won't get into. I just don't want to list every single thing I put on the card for clients here, but you get the gist of where I'm going. I like Seattle. I think they'll win by like 7. I do like a couple of their receivers here. And it's almost as much of a fade of New England as it is a play on Seattle. Although I think Seattle's a very good team. They cashed my plus 450 to win the NFC. So thoroughly happy with the Seahawks.
Good stuff. That is a prop of mine, too. It's a smaller scale prop. I didn't mention it initially, but I'm with you on Shaheed. Yeah, Shaheed over the receiving yards. I am on that. Smaller bet, but I'm totally in agreement with you. We had Trevor Harris, Saskatchewan Roughriders quarterback, Grey Cup quarterback. I love calling him that now after he won the Grey Cup last year. We had him on earlier this week with Davis Alexander to talk about this game, and he said Jackson Smith and Jigba over 6.5 receptions again. Just keep going back to the well with that. Don't be worried about Christian Gonzalez being matched up against him, because Trevor seems to think this is the players that too good, the scheme to find ways to get him open is too good. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side, what the matchup is, JSN will find a way to get open and get his receptions and get his touches, get his catches. So take that for what it's worth. And he mentioned that receptions prop against the Rams too before that game and flew over that number of 6.5 receptions. That's the thing, right? You would think tough matchup against Gonzalez, right? But he's JSN. He's that good. He just finds ways to get open, like he did on the side near the corner of the end zone there on the one touchdown he had against the Rams. Sometimes the player is too good and the scheme is too good to not get open.
I totally agree. And generally in games like this, I just think back to a lot of the Chiefs Super Bowls in recent history. You always kind of felt like, well, these Travis Kelce props are so high, but that's the guy that Pat Mahomes goes to. So don't be afraid, because when it counts the most, that's who they're going to go to, right? Darnold and JSN have a very good chemistry between them. One thing I left out here, Ian, really quick, where New England's concerned, but Seattle matches it, is in the New England case, Marcus Jones as a return man could be a lightning in a bottle type thing for New England and help them here with point production. But the other side has Rashid Shaheed returning kicks, and it's just as lightning.
They already had one right at the top against San Francisco on the opening kickoff in the wild card or the divisional round. Yep.
Help your total out a little bit. If you like over, you do have special teams here. A return man in your favor. I know the Rams got hit in the face mask with one that set Seattle up. I don't think either of these guys are too prone to dropping kicks, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, no doubt. And, of course, you've got the kickers, too. I know someone that I was talking with earlier this week as a guest on the show, like the kicker points over, especially Myers, especially Jason Myers for Seattle. I think his kicker points is 8.5 at most books right now as far as his kicker points props. And we talked about how I think he went over that in the one playoff game, didn't go over that in the other, but it's worth noting. I think he has been 7+ kicker points in 4 straight games, and I think 2 of those went over the 8.5. And this could be a game with such high stakes that maybe defensive-minded head coaches, in this case Mike Macdonald, you take the 3 points maybe a little bit more often, in a game of this magnitude than maybe you would, say, in an October or November regular season game. So maybe that brings Myers over 8.5 kicker points into play, maybe a little bit more as a result. So I told you this would be a short show. That's about it. That's all I got. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much more detail. I mean, I just did the cliff notes of everything I liked. And of course, I've said it a bunch of times already on the shows that I've recorded already. But primarily, we wanted to get a show done here with Rob to get his thoughts on the big game. That's about it. Rob, if there's anything you want to add, let us know. If not, you can just give us a best bet here on the way out. Could be anything for the game, including a prop. What would you want to go with here for Super Bowl 60 best bet?
Yeah, I think I would just go full game side. I do think Seattle's the right side here, -4.5. I don't want to overthink it. Sometimes you get 2 weeks to hear a bunch of other stuff, to read a bunch of other stuff, and your mind gets swayed. I think that's the reason why I bet it right as soon as the number came up, because I didn't want to be swayed in any way, shape, or form. They've just been playing so terrific, Ian, for I would say 10 weeks now, 9, 10 weeks. Exception being the Rams, where they gave up a bunch of points, but still came out on top 2 of the 3 games against them. So I think they've gone through the toughest hurdle. A lot of people did think that the NFC Championship winner was really the Super Bowl winner. You still have to play the game, so I'm not using that as any sense of security here. But I think Seattle wins by 7+. Real quick, let me just thank you for having me on during this football season. Appreciate it. Thanks to your audience for tuning in and requesting that you get me back. It's fun to talk with you all the time on these games. We see things alike a lot of times, Ian, which is always fun to talk with somebody who sees things kind of in line with what you're seeing.
No, we've agreed a lot, and it's actually worked out more than not. I think as far as the sides and the totals, we agree with here on the NFL card. There's no doubt, and so Rob and I want to mention this because a lot of people that watch and listen to the shows are not only viewers and listeners, but they pay for picks. They're subscribers to either you or to me or both. And I'll tell you this right now, for anyone that's a member with me or a client with Rob, we will both be involved in the United Football League. You make no mistake about it when that league starts up at the end of March. So we will have plays and bets weekly in the UFL. Now, this show is on hiatus until late May, early June. We'll be just starting it up when the CFL season is about to begin. But I'm pretty sure there's at least, and now with the CFL season starting a week earlier, I think the very first week of June is that first week of the CFL season. There could be some overlap between the end of the United Football League season and the beginning of the CFL season. So that late May, early June period, when we start up the show, we will be calling on our good friend Rob Vino, and we'll see if he's around to get a little UFL and CFL talk going May into June. And, of course, Rob does the CFL now as well. He's been handicapping CFL for, I would say, the last 2-3 years now, at least. So we're both involved with that. And like I said, for us, Rob, football season is almost year-round. Other than this little gap we're going to have following the Super Bowl until late March, it's a year-round sport for us from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, and it's just fine by me, Ian. The more football we can have, the better. If they're going to put numbers on these games, all the better for us. Really quick, I'd be remiss if I just didn't mention for anybody watching, my work can be found over at wagertalk.com. I think the powers that be would be definitely upset with me if I didn't at least mention the website. If you're not a member at wagertalk.com, you just go and drop your email address and you get instant access to all the free media and written material over there. My selection packages are always on my homepage over there. So once again, wagertalk.com.
It has been a blast, and yes, the viewers and listeners have enjoyed you being on the show, and that's why we've asked Rob to join us as many times as we have this year. We will get him back next season when Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy commences once again, late May, early June, right before the start of the CFL season. For Rob Vino, I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for tuning in to another NFL Super Bowl preview edition of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. Enjoy the game. Good luck with all your wagers, and thanks for tuning in once again to Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy.